Hey all, Cohen here. So, I kind of was thinking about some stuff over the last little while, and I guess one of the reasons why I thought maybe I'd make a video if this gets posted. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to post it, but if you see it, then I did. Anyways, so it's Pride season, which is awesome. Happy Pride to everyone. Um, One thing that I kind of want to touch base on and talk about is safety during Pride Month and safety throughout the whole year, to be honest. Um, we had an incident with, um, it wasn't directly with Bimbrook Pride, but we had a performer perform at Bimbrook Pride. And this person was 19 and they are trans male, and they did a performance and it was recorded by their friends, and they posted it online. And the video that they did, they had revealed their top surgery scars. Ooh, scary. I know, right? um but anyhow, it ended up being found by hate groups on Twitter, or what everybody calls X. I'm not on Twitter. I'm also not on Facebook because I find them both extremely negative and full of drama. So that's why you won't find me on there. But anyways, it got shared a bunch of times. It got a lot of views. I'm not going to say like it's within the millions, but I'm not going to be specific about anything because one, I don't want to have anybody try to go find this source and try to cause more hate, because the majority of what was being posted under these videos that were being reposted by hate groups were very phobic, rude, aggressive, and I didn't read them all. I didn't go and read the comments. I had been privy to the information due to the fact that I'm head of Bimbrook Pride. I did step down at Pride. I am still finishing up all of the things that I need to do to pass on, and I will still be running Community Bimbrook, so I will still be connected to Bimbrook Pride because they go together. Um, but the situation ended up getting out of hand because it got so much hate that, one, the performer themselves was being personally attacked by many people. And then as it got further, it became to a point where myself and the new head of Pride were being posted about on Twitter, and they were posting my trans fellas Instagram, trans fellas YouTube, and they linked an article that from a blog from the McLean Clinic, which is now Grace Med, as most people know anyways. But they were sharing information like that. They shared an event that the now head of Pride was part of. I don't know if that event already happened or not. They have quite a few this season. They're pretty booked up, as they are a drag performer themselves. But there was an immense amount of hate going on, and from that it stemmed to not just people picking on and bullying the performer. It stemmed to just picking on anybody that wanted to rebut a hater. And it also turned into people threatening to leak my personal information and the new head of Pride. Um, Besides the trans fella's Instagram and the YouTube, and like, they put my first and last name, but um, because I do care about my safety and other people's, and I do care about my family's safety, I generally don't use I use my first name online for social media and stuff. However, unless I'm doing an interview, a documentary, or something speaking where like I do need to give my first and last name, I do not share my first and last name. So, at the end of the day, it got to that point where other people were starting to be victimized, and it was not anything that we wanted to have other people deal with. Binbrook Pride was already being mentioned, and so for being a small rural community with a decent sized population of queer people, and with the performer being attacked as well and messaging us to ask for advice, we pretty much ended up saying, you know what, you just gotta, like, there is no right side of the internet. Anything that goes on the internet is pretty much fair game. It's really hard to get anything taken down. It's really hard to argue anything that people put up. People have really taken to using social media as a platform for themselves to just do whatever they want, say whatever they want, hurt whoever they want. And it's scary in many different ways because these people might not know where you live, but they can attack you and that can mentally affect you. So it's not just the fear of somebody coming to find you in person or you being recognized out in public by somebody who does not like who you are for whatever reason it is. But at the end of the day, because it was getting so bad and because other people were being involved, we did tell the performer, like, hey, best thing for everybody involved to do, like, obviously, no hard feelings, no nothing towards this performer. I would hire them again for Binbrook Pride and have them come all over again because they deserve to be there. And they deserve to show their drag. They deserve to express themselves in the way that they felt comfortable. And it was done very well. And we're extremely proud of having them come to Pride and do their performance. But at points, you have to sit back and take a look and see, like, who am I arguing with? Who is coming at me? If somebody is coming at me and they literally just want to yell and scream or be phobic or aggressive or violent, there is a very, very high chance that that person is not worth your breath. There are people who misspeak, who don't know all the facts, who don't understand, and it's because they're not part of our community. But there are a big chunk of people that do things that don't mean to, that would like to be educated. And at the end of the day, my personal opinion and my personal feelings are that those are the people that you spend your time and your effort and your breath on. Because the people that are trying to yell and scream at you, whether it's in your face at a protest or online, they're not listening to anything you have to say. You're hearing what they say, and they're saying terrible things. But when you say anything back to them, they're not listening to you. They have no intention. They do not come to protest and to become educated and to listen. They come to disturb. They come to upset. They come to hurt, whether it's mentally or sometimes physically. They come to do us harm in any way that they can. And one of the main things that they like to do is to get us on their level so that we're yelling and screaming too, because usually by that time, that's when people will start taking out their cameras, or that's when somebody will call an authority or get others involved so that everybody can see it and film it and put it online and paste it as, look at how angry these people are at these gay people, these queer people, these whatever people they are, these alphabet people. They're so angry, they're so violent. But it's a matter of, these protesters have come into a space that has been rightfully, especially if it's a Pride, it's been rightfully reserved for that event and for the people that it is for. If something's not for you or you don't like it, you don't go to it. It goes across the board for anybody. It doesn't matter if it's Pride or not. But at the end of the day, if you're going to come and yell at people just to try to get a reaction and just to hurt people's feelings and to try to be aggressive and violent, then that's one clear indicator of why we still need Pride. But I want to get back to what I was talking about, because what we had discussed with the performer was that at this point in time, there is so much hate going on, and the safety of the performer, the safety of other people, and myself, and the new head of Pride, possibly other committee members, could be at risk. The best thing for us to think to do is to let it go. And it sucks to be like, yeah, let it go, because you want to defend yourself. You want to fight for what you know is right. But sometimes there are those people that do not want to listen. They just want to hurt you. And the more and more and more they can get you to answer, the more they can get you to engage, the happier it makes them, because they are trying deliberately to get you riled up. They want people to see you act in an undignified manner. And they want you to be seen as unstable, which is what they look like if they're just left alone. So the thought process was that if we tell people to no longer interact because it's becoming a safety issue, then what will happen, because it sounds terrible to say, but it is an online thing, and this happens all the time in many different ways. But something happens, and a big uproar happens online, and people go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And at some point, you have to decide how long you're going to keep going for. Because if the hate is more and more and more and more, it's not doing you any good. It's not doing anybody else any good. It is literally going to drain you mentally. It is going to just it's going to mess you up mentally. And it's going to be difficult to learn how to come back from that in future, especially for younger people. And this was one of my personal concerns for the performer, because they are 19, and I'm not saying that they're too young to understand something or to be involved in something at all. My worry, as somebody who was in charge of a Pride organization and had hired said person, and the video came from the event that we held, if we do not protect that person, regardless of their age, but the fact that it was a youth makes it even worse, because we did have a bunch of other performers, but the only person that was picked on and plucked out of the entire thing was a 19-year-old, the youngest one to perform in front of a crowd of people and share their experience and just be open, because that's what they felt like, that's what they wanted to do, and they had an amazing time. They were so proud of themselves. We were so proud of them. And to have people go that far is just unacceptable. And to make sure that everybody was safe, the best thing to do was to stop. So we made it very clear that the best thing to do is for everybody to stop engaging, because as we all know, the more you engage with something, the worse it can get, and the algorithm will bump, 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 and keep it going. So even if you are going there just to look and see, oh, was there a new mean hate comment made towards my friend, the person I know, the committee, the whatever it may be, it's still clicking on the page and bumping it. So it's a difficult thing to really wrap your head around and try to navigate through, because you do want to fight for yourself and you want to fight for your community, but you have to make sure you're being safe, and you have to make sure that where you are putting your energy is the best place for you to put your energy. We all feel extremely hurt by people. I've been hurt by people in and outside of the community. I've fought back and I've not fought back in periods of my life, when I've been bullied, when I've been picked on, when I've been harassed, whatever it may be. And it's not that I wouldn't fight for my community, because I would. If I needed to physically fight for my community, I would stand up and physically fight for my community. There is no questions about that. But sometimes in situations, and especially online, you have to really think about what you're going to do and who you're going to address and what you're going to address. And then the best thing as well, if you're being attacked online, the best thing that you can do is block. The block button is like your best friend, and people might be like, oh, well, you're not addressing it. Why do you have to address somebody that literally just wants to hate on you and upset you and hurt you? There is no point. there are tons of people that really do want to be educated, that do want to learn, or that are interested, just so that they can be more open, more accepting, or even just correct when they're speaking to people in our community or of people in our community, which is the best place to put our effort. Um, like, I'm going to say this, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but because of the amount of hate that I have seen in the last 5 to 10 years within our community, and because of how extreme certain things get, one of the reasons why the fairgrounds is chosen is because where we have Pride is fenced in. And then the area that we are in is inside of a track area, which also has another smaller fence, but it's an easier way to see who came in here. If an incident happens inside the Pride grounds, then it's easier to indicate if somebody came in and started something, or if somebody was, whatever it may be. It's easier to indicate if it's outside of the parameters of the area that you are throwing the event. Then it's kind of out of your control. At that point, you have to decide if you are going to engage with it or not. And like, for me personally, if there is going to be an event that I'm going to be throwing, I don't want protesters directly mixed in with everybody else. That fence is there because we are having an event, and legally, and also because of how we rent the place and everything, we have full right to say that somebody is not allowed in. And if they refuse, or somebody caused a disturbance and they have to leave, we have full right to legally handle that. And we don't like to involve the police because, you know what? It's not been a great history with our community. It never has been. It's going to take mountains to change things. However, we have reached out to the police in our area and made them aware of our event in past and this year. And this year, we actually got an extremely good response, and we had no issues, and they didn't hang around, and they didn't demand to have a booth and all the other things and whatnot. They were just willing to be on call if we needed them, and they were very respectful to us, which we very much appreciate. And that is not common. That's once in a blue moon that you can get that. And we're very fortunate that we did, and we're very fortunate that we actually haven't had to deal with protesters in person. We haven't had anybody show up to our events to ruin them. Knock on wood. But in my mind, because there are so many different people from different walks of life, different marginalized groups of people within marginalized groups of people, different age groups of people, it's not something that I'm willing to risk. There is insurance that we have, 100%. I always have the insurance. Everybody should. And, at the end of the day, it's a matter of, if protesters are going to show up, especially since we're a smaller Pride, my main goal is to make sure that everybody is safe and that everybody is taking part in Pride. Pride started and is a protest. However, when you are a smaller community and when you have to jump through hoops just to be able to do anything, and when you know that the people that showed up on the other side of that fence, or next to you, wherever your Pride is, they showed up there for a reason. They showed up there for a purpose. In past, people have brought in big name, like, religious people from the States to protest with them, which is also not safe. But I do not want anybody to go acknowledge them. In my mind, protesters want to see us hurt. They want to see us react. They want to see us stoop to a level that we shouldn't have to stoop to just to be alive. We shouldn't have to worry about whether we're going to be alive tomorrow or not because of somebody else's hands. And I, at the end of the day, would rather, and I would get on the mic if I ever had to before, I would have gotten on the mic and I would have said, it seems that we have some disturbers across the fence. We ask that you stay, experience what is going on here, be fully present here, and ignore those who mean you harm. Because at the end of the day, the moment you walk over to the fence and engage with them, they've gotten what they've wanted. They have your attention. That is what feeds them. Seeing you hurt, hearing your voices yell and cry back, you trying to explain yourself or explain your rights or equality or anything like that. They're not listening. Just assume they all have earplugs in, which most of them actually do, so that they can just stand there and yell at you. But I do not want anybody to be able to take the feelings that people are experiencing during a Pride event away from them in the middle of it because they decided to show up and try to harm people, whether it's mentally, physically, or whatever. I would rather have them stand there and not be acknowledged by a single soul, because do you know what? That's what hurts them the most. You yelling back how you feel and that you're valid and all those things doesn't affect them. The moment that you do not engage is what affects them. The moment that you do not jump on social media to have a word smash with them, you're gonna upset them. In a way, they might say that they won, and you might be like, oh, I let them win. But at the end of the day, you haven't given them your time. You haven't given them your attention and your emotions and your feelings. They have not taken those things from you. They have these people that like to scream and yell across a keyboard or across a stupid fence or an invisible barrier at some prides. Who are they? What do they matter? Are they sitting on any type of political box in any way, shape, or form? Who are these people? What do they mean to you? Why does it matter? Because at the end of the day, even if you just want to put, like, wasn't even talking to you or whatever it might be, like, you want to say something witty to confuse them. Like, if somebody's like, you're gay, and you turn around and you say, yeah, I am, thanks, bye, or something, like anything to give them a head scratch, and then use your block button, that works too. So, I'm not saying that it's not worth it to fight for rights, because it is 100% worth it. Because if those who came before us if they did not fight, they had to fight physically, okay? If those before us even left their homes and tried to be themselves authentically, whether it's gay, lesbian, bi, trans, asexual, intersex, whatever it may be, any of us, back when Pride was a riot and started, and even before, there were people that had to physically fight, because if they didn't, they were murdered. They were beaten. They were raped. All these things. And they fought for us to be where we are now and further. It's our job to continue on, but we have so much more than what they had. We have more allies. We have more of a community now. And at the end of the day, sometimes you have to stand and fight. You have to physically fight. And sometimes